are live on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So today's broadcast, and I'm going to give it a moment for people to jump on. I know we said we were starting at 12:15. Apologies, everything in divine timing though. Sometimes you just can't forecast how life is. And we'll just say we were doing this on Miami time. Just give you guys a chance to hop on. I hope everybody is doing amazing today. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday where I am. And let's face it, every day is a beautiful day. Also depends what you make out of it. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into today's topic, which is fears. What are they good for? And this is, I like to make a little fun on it, fears. What are they good for? Absolutely nothing. And the reason why I wanted to talk about fears is because fears is something that predominates most of our thought patterns. So a lot of the times when we have these reoccurring limiting thoughts, they are based on certain fears that we have. And we so often jump to a worst case scenario analysis, which we have to also say as an attorney, it is good to see both sides of a story. So, I mean, it's good to have a perspective, but the thing that inhibits us is when we focus on the limiting beliefs and the negative and the fears, and we start going down the rabbit hole of what ifs. And this rabbit hole of what ifs is not going to get you anywhere. And when you constantly focus on fears, you ultimately create a manifestation of your fears. So oftentimes when someone, words have such power. So if you're leaving the house and you're saying to yourself, I'm so afraid I'm going to be late, 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 then it's going to happen. But if you're focusing your words on how, we live in this world of infinite possibilities, and we talked about that last week. And so often we focus only on one narrative that we know. And often that narrative is that limiting belief, that narrative of fear. And so the thing about fears, though, is that we create things that aren't ever that don't even come to fruition. And, I'm rereading Dune. So any Dune fans out there, it's an awesome book. If you haven't read it, read it. The movie's pretty good too. But yeah, I love the book. And I really wanted to talk about this because the topic in there, they say fear is the mind killer. And it really is, because we can focus so much of our efforts that could be used for creating that can be used to create our beautiful lives and to create amazing things in our lives, instead focused on fears and on the what ifs and the things that you can't control. And so, there was a Florence Shovel. Oh gosh, what is her name? Florence Scovel Shinn. It's this book that I'm reading. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she said something, and I think this is so beautiful how everything really happens how it should be. It was a passage that I read this morning. And it said, courage contains genius and magic. Face a situation fearlessly, and there is no situation to face. It all falls away of its own weight. So the best way to equate that is, sometimes you're afraid of something big, or you're anticipating something huge. If we even go back to law school, or the first time you tried a case, or the first time you did anything, there was a certain amount of anxiety I'm sure that you had, and it was huge. But what did you do? You faced it and you got through it, and you eventually got better and better and better again. But either way, you confronted your fear. And when we confront our fears, we see that our fears are really nothing. The fear is just something that you created in your mind. The funny thing about fears is just like a waste of time for your mind to focus on. Hey, Bryn, thanks for joining. We're talking about fears and how they are good for nothing. So, the cool thing about knowing where your fears are at and allowing yourself to acknowledge these emotions, it allows you to get to know yourself and deal with whatever limiting beliefs that you have going on in the background. So when you have certain fears that come up in certain moments and you feel your mind going to those crazy places that they do, allow yourself to embrace the emotion, acknowledge the emotion, maybe get curious and say, hey, perhaps where is this coming from? And then open yourself up to the realm of possibilities of everything else that could happen. And I know this is not easy to do always, but words have power. So if you say, I can handle it, I always got this, and I love facing my fears, I love embracing my limiting beliefs, then you handle it differently. And so when you have these fears that come up, or you're facing something and you can't help it, our mind is on repeat. So you have that thing going bang, 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 bang in your head. Allow yourself every time to let it come up, embrace it, and then allow yourself to see the infinite possibilities that are out there, opposed to focusing on the fear. Now, this sounds super, super simple, but at the end of the day, it can be simple. It's just a matter of process, and it's just a matter of doing things again and again and again and getting used to it. And once you start conquering your fears one by one by one, you'll just get more adept, and the fears that you usually have won't hold you down as much as beforehand. They won't weigh you down as much as they used to. And I'm not saying that you should go do dangerous things, because there are a certain amount of fears that you have a certain amount of fears that are, they come from survival instincts. But there are fears that we have that really just don't serve us. So Bryn says he has no fears, but he does question sometimes, for sure. Yeah, I mean, for sure, life, and especially the last 2 years with the global pandemic, and us just not being, it with just the amount of uncertainty that's been there, our minds can go to crazy places and, wonder about all the what ifs and everything like that. But ultimately, all you have is this moment right here and right now. Technically, the past doesn't exist, and technically, the future doesn't exist. You're creating your future based on the present moment. So how do you want to expend your beautiful energy, this beautiful life force that you have, this gift that you've been given? How do you want to spend it? Do you want to spend it focusing on things that are out of your control, such as the fears and all those scenarios that go through your head? Or do you want to focus on what you can control, which is your own emotional state, and realizing that you got this and that you can do this, and that, the fear is just, like I said in Dune, it's just the mind killer, and you can let it pass. You can acknowledge that the fear is there, allow yourself to deal with whatever emotion comes up with it and wherever it's coming from, because you shouldn't ignore those things. These are important indicators from our body. But then allow yourself really to just sit back and look at the infinite realm of possibilities of all the amazing things that can happen, because we really do create our realities. And I personally like to create a reality that I like. And usually the fears are not things that we like. So I like to make these lives, these Instagram lives. Hey, what's up, Trevor? Welcome to this live. We're talking about fears. I was about to wrap things up, but before I do, I don't know if you wanted to add anything, because we were talking about how fears really don't add to our lives, but wanted to give you a chance to add if you have anything to add about fears, or anything you've dealt with lately that you wanted to share. Let's give him, I love it. Got the little heart on IG. Hello, welcome, man. Lots of people are joining. This is so lovely. So yeah, we've been talking about fears and how fears really are the mind killer, and that they take us places that aren't good places. And think of fears like you're going on a trip. So you're about to go on, you're having these fears come up, and you're like, okay, what kind of vacation do I want to go on? Do I want to go to the dark place, like in The Lion King? Any Disney fans out there? Or do you want to, what is it called? Goodness, it's something like where the sun doesn't shine, or the shadows. Goodness, forgive me for not knowing this, but do you want to go to that? Do you want to pack your bags to go to that dark place where Simba's not supposed to go? Or do you want to stay on the Pride Lands? And so when you have those fears come up for you, allow yourself to pack your bags for the trip that you want to go on, not the trip that you don't want to go on. And I know I'm not going to say that. It is easy if you get used to it. Things are just a matter of habit and continually doing it, and we will always get challenged. But challenges, I believe, are opportunities in disguise. So I'm challenging you guys to face your fears, allow yourself to acknowledge the fears, because they're coming up for a reason. It's not something that you should suppress. It's an indicator. And I want to challenge you to pack your bags for that abundant possibility trip that you want to go on, opposed to just focusing on the trip that'll take you to the bad place. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. These Inspired Insights Lives are meant to be quick. I, like you guys, don't want to spend all day hanging out here. We can make them longer when we can add some interviews. So if you guys do have some suggestions to help improve these IG Lives and make them more engaging for you, or you have some content that you'd love me to talk about, I'm here and I'd love to talk about it with you. But until then, I want to wish everyone the most incredible rest of your week, sending you so many good vibes, and face your fears. And if you ever want to reach out to me, I'm always here, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and you can always shoot me an email at sharon@theinspiredattorney.co. All right, guys, I'll talk to you then. Thanks for joining.